We're gonna start off by painting the statue gold. You have gold paint in your kit. Use the portion cup to put some gold paint in your dish. You're definitely gonna have leftover where you can make another project. The way I paint him is I just hold his hand and I just paint him. Your fan's included. When you're done, you can put him in front of the fan to dry. Now I'm done painting him, so I'm going to put him in front of the fan. And while he dries in front of the fan, we're gonna get our resin ready. Next, we're going to mix the resin. You have 8 ounces of part A and 4 ounces of part B. With this resin, the ratio is 2 parts A, 1 part B. When you're dealing with resin, you're gonna wanna read the instructions because there are a lot of different resins out there. Some of them start to cure within 45 minutes, and those are for projects that don't have a lot of depth in them. For projects like we're doing today with a deep mold, you're gonna need to use deep pore resin, which will allow it to cure at a slower rate and allow the bubbles to rise to the top. I ran out of the measuring cups, so I'm going to just be using a regular cup. Because this ratio is 2 to 1, I have these portion cups here. So I'm gonna do 2 parts of part A to 1 part of part B. For you, it's going to be 4 ounces of part A and 2 ounces of part B. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour that out and get it ready. I have the ratios measured out, 2 parts part A to 1 part B. For you, you're gonna be pouring 2 ounces of part B into your measuring cup, and then 4 ounces of part A. And then you're going to mix for about 5 minutes. And you're gonna wanna mix slow because the faster you mix, the more air bubbles you'll mix into the resin. And you don't want air bubbles. So you just mix slow. So I'm gonna mix this for 5 minutes. You're gonna keep mixing until you mix all the swirls out of the resin. When you first start mixing, there's gonna be swirls in there, and you're gonna continue to mix until the swirls are gone. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks super clear. It's like water. So we're gonna put this to the side. And we're gonna go back to the statue. Now we're gonna get his support ready with the 2 popsicle sticks and the glue gun. So you're gonna put a small amount on his base. A very small amount because you're gonna be pulling it off at some point. And then you're just going to attach the popsicle stick and hold it in place until it dries. If you want, you can use the fan, but you don't really have any free arms to get it. When it's dry, the popsicle stick's gonna be sticking out of his base. And then you're gonna take him and you're going to put him where you want him in the mold. And then you're going to measure where you need to apply glue on your popsicle stick in order to glue it to the popsicle stick and then have him sit. So I want him a little bit deeper, so I'm gonna put it right there. If you need to move them around, if you need to move the popsicle sticks around while you're putting the glue on there, when the glue's still hot, you have the ability to move him left, right. You can move this up, down, until it starts to harden. The way you do it doesn't make a difference. You could do it across. It depends on how you put the popsicle stick in. If you put the popsicle stick in front to back, it could end up like this. I just measure it across, corner to corner. And then you're going to apply hot glue to the mold to secure him down. You're going to be pulling the support off after your first layer hardens. And then you're going to do the same on the other corner. I reinforce it with glue on each side of the popsicle stick. If at any point this pops off, just turn your glue gun on and re-secure it down. Now we're going to go back to the resin and we're going to mix in our green flakes. And with these green flakes, you don't need a lot. You only need a little bit. If you put too much in there, then it will turn it green. And you're just going to mix. And now we're ready to pour. And we're gonna pour from the corner and we're gonna pour very slowly because we don't wanna add any extra air bubbles. The resin is now poured in the mold and you're going to put it to the side to let it cure for around 35 hours. Each resin that you use is different. So for my project, I tested this out and the 35-hour mark was a good time to pour the second layer. And that's due to the fact that if you pull the popsicle stick out too early and the resin isn't completely set where it needs to be, he'll float to the top. So it's important that you take the popsicle stick out at the correct time in order to avoid him floating to the top. We've poured the resin in the mold, and now we have to let that first layer cure. As you can see, it's very watery, and as time ticks on, it's going to start to harden up. Generally, the first 12 to 24 hours, it's very liquid, and then it starts to move and get thicker into the direction of a gel consistency. And from that gel consistency, it's going to continue to get hard. And so you have to catch it at the perfect time so you can make sure to pour your second mold and that your statue stays embedded in the resin. So we're gonna let him sit for around 34, 35 hours. And also, temperature impacts the curing process. So the warmer it is, the faster it's gonna cure. But it's not gonna allow the air bubbles. If it cures really fast, it won't allow the air bubbles to rise to the top. This is a slow curing resin for deep pores. So it's gonna remain a liquid consistency for a while in order to allow those air bubbles to raise to the top and pop. So we're gonna put him to the side and let him set up, and we're gonna start checking him anywhere from 29 hours on. Now we're at the point where we're ready for our second pour, and we're gonna mix up the resin just like we did in the first pour, using the exact same ratios. You have 2 cups with measurements on the side. You already used 1 for your first pour, so you should have 1 remaining, and you're gonna measure out 2 ounces of part B, and on top of that, you're gonna pour 4 ounces of part A. The ratio is 2 to 1. So I have 2 to 1. And we're gonna do part B first. So for you, you're gonna pour this in your cup. You're gonna have measurements on the side. It should say 2 ounces. And then you're gonna pour 4 ounces of part A. And it should give you a total of 6 ounces. And then we're gonna mix. You see how it has swirls in there? We're gonna mix until those swirls are gone. So about 5 minutes, and we're gonna mix slow again, so we don't add any additional air bubbles. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna go back to the resin cube mold, and we're gonna wanna remove the popsicle stick. We're in the time zone of 34, 35 hours, and you don't want him to be completely set in there, but you also don't want it to be extremely gooey. And this part's kind of tricky because if it's not the right consistency, he'll start to move. And when you do the second pour, he's gonna float to the top, and this is what's gonna happen. So if you go to move him, if you go to remove the popsicle stick and he is just wiggling like crazy, you're gonna wanna wait. So you're gonna remove the popsicle stick. I just kind of put my finger here and pull. If you have glue residue, I just go in there and I pick at it until I remove it. Sometimes it just pops right off. So you're going to want to wait and see if he moves around, because now you're removing the popsicle stick, so he has free range in his mold. So you're going to want to see if he moves around. If he starts to move around, take the popsicle stick, add some glue, secure him back down, wait a little bit longer. Now, if you completely miss the window, that's okay too. You could always take sandpaper and scuff up the resin and then do your second pour. So now we're gonna follow the same procedure we did on the first pour, and we're gonna pour from the corner. And we're gonna go really slow to avoid air bubbles. The resin's poured in there, he's covered. If he starts to float to the top and you've already poured your second pour, you can keep pushing him down with a popsicle stick. But I can't guarantee that he'll stay down in there. And if that happens, reach out to me at KrisTinaK@box.art. KrisTinaK at boxt.art, and we'll fix it. We're gonna put him to the side and allow him to harden up for another 35 hours. And from this point forward, you're just waiting for him to completely cure. It takes about 5 full days for the resin to completely cure. You can try to take him out early and you'll run the risk of messing up your sides, because this is still soft. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's still soft. So you got to give it time to cure. And I have so many air bubbles in this one. So now it's cured for 5 days. It's hard. You're ready to pull it out of the mold. You can do it one of two ways. You can either start pulling away at the sides and demold it, and that way is really hard, although it can be done. That's how I've demolded all my molds in the cube, because I reuse the mold. It's stuck. It's silicone, so it's stuck. So it definitely takes some elbow grease to get it out. I also sometimes take popsicle sticks or a butter knife in the side to try to loosen it up. Also, sometimes I'm able to put my fingers in there and kind of pull at it. But if you don't have any concerns about throwing the mold away, then you can take scissors and you can cut it. Cut it, and then you're able to get the mold out. So I am going to work on getting this out. We got the cube out of the mold. We're going to put it on the wooden base, and then we're going to turn it on. And there's your Spirited Detroit desk lamp. If you've experienced any issues during your pours, again, please reach out to me so we can correct it. At KrisTinaK@boxt.art. KrisTinaK @boxt.art.